Hello, welcome to our first All Hands or APM Works session for the year. I'm Jake Locklear, the CEO of APM. Excited to have those with us in the room today as well as those on YouTube Live. A new experience for us today, and hopefully we've got some of our teammates out in the field with us today to listen to this discussion. We're going to give a brief update on how we closed out 2019, look ahead to 2020, some things we're focused on, and then a majority of our time is going to be spent in Q&A. So I'd like to have an engaging discussion with you, whether it's in the room or whether it's online. And Katie's going to give us some instructions about that. For now, though, we're going to have about 20 minutes of the Chiefs up here talking about 19 and 20 and what we're looking at, and Katie's going to give us some instructions for that. So Katie?
Thanks, Jake. So just a couple of reminders as we get started. Today's event is a live video only. There is not a call integrated. We actually decided to do this at the request of some of our employees who have been unable to join previous events because it was hosted via an internal call. By doing it over this live platform on our YouTube and on our Facebook channel, we're able to share it with a broader APM audience. So we're really excited about that. The video is also being recorded today, so if at any point your connection cuts out or you just don't get the opportunity to watch the entire event, you will be able to go back at a later time and find this video on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook. One final reminder, all the questions that we take today will need to go through the Slido platform. That will allow us an easy moderation process. It'll also make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to see and vote on the questions that get entered. So if you do decide to go to the Slido platform, we encourage you to do that. The link is posted on the YouTube. So just check in that About section on the YouTube and you'll see the Slido link. You can ask your questions anonymously or assign your name to it. You'll also have the opportunity to vote on questions, and we'll even have some polls later on in the event for you. With that, I'm going to pass it off to Charles Nagley, our Chief Growth Officer, to talk with us about commitment-based safety.
Thanks, Katie. So 4 years ago, APM made the decision to incorporate commitment-based safety, or CBS, into our safety culture to improve, ultimately, safety performance. Last year, we placed a bet. We doubled down on CBS as a means to improve our safety performance, improve our culture, and ultimately help us win in the marketplace. The premise of that is that if we improve our safety culture over time, we'll win by keeping our employees safer. Our customers will see the quality in the work that we do, and ultimately our shareholders will see the productivity that we get out of this, enabling us to really continue to play in this space. So how do we measure whether or not our safety culture is improving? You've got to really look at that as we put together a team, a CBS committee made up of leadership, management, and field supervisors to really work through and develop the vision, the strategy, the process, tools, and those things that are going to help, through design, get this out throughout the organization. The biggest piece there is that our teams have to really embrace, understand the value of what CBS is, and then really be able to see the value and the benefit of utilizing it and sharing it with the team. But just because we design it and we create this shared belief and perception around that doesn't mean that that immediately translates into we've got a world-class safety culture. We've got to work on that. But we measure it through really two aspects. One are the leading and lagging indicators, so our critical X's that we're all measured on, the number of hazard hunts we're doing, the quality of our leadership reports, and how well we're incorporating preventative measures into our quality reports as well. Those are all things that lead ultimately to what our I&I rate would look like, and that's really what our customers, our own employees, and our shareholders are looking at. The second way of measuring that is how many meaningful conversations are we having with our teams. So are we talking, having STA pre-job brief discussions that are effective, that are really talking about the risks that affect you as a craftsman in the field? Are we protecting the equipment? Are we protecting the environment? Are we considering those types of risks as we go through that process? Are we having our CBS 3 commitments that we utilize? Are we sharing that with our teams to hold ourselves accountable to that? And ultimately, are we developing coaching opportunities where we can go and talk and share to get everybody to move from just understanding CBS? I mean, 4 years, everybody here should really understand at least or be aware of what CBS is. The goal that we're moving toward is to try to make sure that everybody understands there's a positive perception around that there's value and there's benefits to be derived by us moving everybody in the organization to that direction. So this year I've committed to help the organization move us from A to B by setting up some meetings that we're going to be putting together with the craft and the field teams to try to help educate, provide further education, to try to allow our teams, our superintendents to share where it's worked for them, where some folks may have struggles, and how do we help them and coach them through that process. What I'd like to ask each and every one of you is, what can you do to help move us from just having general awareness of CBS to really having a positive perception and moving the needle for APM this year? All right. Thank you. With that,
So let me reiterate something on CBS real quick. Tomorrow in this building, we're going to have the head of GE's Gas Services Organization, Chuck Nugent. We are going to start that discussion with a CBS exercise, where this team up here, along with Mr. Nugent, are going to sit down and we're going to turn a sheet of paper sideways and we're going to draw 3 lines on it, and we're going to go through task, risk, action, or commitment, and then we'll reflect at the end of the day. I say that only to say that this is not only a tool, it is the way we do business here. And so whether you're in the field filling out STA cards, or whether you're here or remotely doing something, it is always expected that before you start any activity, you think about what are you doing, what's the risk to doing that well, including what's the risk to doing that safely, and what actions or commitments will you take to do that. It has to be part of our DNA, it has to be part of how we do business. Charles did a great job of teeing up also for us. When we look back at 2019, when I looked back at day 1 last year and came in and said, how do we assess the business? Really 2 things. It's we have to improve our safety performance, and we got to maintain our credibility with our shareholder on delivering on the financials. Bruce is going to talk to us more about the financials in a minute. From a safety perspective, we took some great steps. We reduced the amount of injuries, whether those be significant injuries, what we call recordables, or whether those be first aids. We reduced those by 40% plus in the field. So we had more and more people going home safe. About 99% of our jobs were done with everyone going home safe every day. We took a big step in that direction. And I wanted to share with you, before I turn it over to Bruce, I want to share with you some things that we heard at the end of last year. How important safety is to our credibility as an organization. So, the GE gas business sent us this note. I've had a front row seat to the meaningful improvement you've highlighted in 2019. Thanks to the team and countless other leaders for their leadership in this effort. Continued momentum in 2020 will not be easy, but the Gas Power Services team is here to partner with you. From Field Corps, congratulations. Seems like you guys made huge strides to improve on EHS in 2019. This is a great performance on leading as well as lagging indicators. Kudos to your leadership and your teams on their execution and commitment. And then from our board of directors, tremendous performance by a team and fantastic leadership within APM and beyond in the broader organization. Really appreciate the effort and the outcome. Looking forward to continued strengthening of our EHS culture in 2020. So 2 things about that. Number 1, our improvement in our safety performance was recognized by a lot of our partners. Second thing, we'll focus on that last sentence I read. Looking forward to continued strengthening of our EHS culture in 2020. Doors are being opened for APM because of our leadership in safety. And we are not perfect. We still sent 20 people home last year with injuries and more first aids. By no means are we perfect, but we are improving and we are getting better, and that is getting noticed, and that is giving us credibility. Now, when we focus on something and say we got to get better at it, we can do it. And when you look at 2020, the game plan is the same thing. We got to execute well, we got to deliver on our commitments, and we got to take the next step in our safety performance. So especially for the audience that may be joining us on YouTube today and some of those teammates out in the field, I want you to hear it directly from me and from this leadership team. You going home safe every day, 100%, is the most important thing you do every day, and nothing comes in the way of compromising that. With that, I'm going to ask Bruce to talk a little bit about our financial performance and what we're looking for in 2020.
From 2019 perspective, I mean, it came down to the wire as far as whether or not we were going to make our plan or our commitment to the shareholder. We were behind all year, and we had a very aggressive op plan that was heavily loaded up front, which had us chasing hours all year long. And we crossed the finish line by the skin of our teeth. And my team will attest that I was pushing them pretty hard to get billing out and to get the numbers where they needed to be for the end of the year. A couple lessons that we learned. We need to get better at forecasting. It's a tough business to forecast. A lot of our work is emergent. So it is tough to forecast, but we do need to get better at forecasting. And we need to get better at adhering to policy and procedure around some spend, some purchasing. It put us in a little bit of a bind, and it's kind of carried itself over into the first of this year. And so we're kind of having to dig out of a little hole, but I think we'll be fine. The 2020 started off a little slow, but February has picked up in volume rapidly, and I think we're looking good to meet targets for the first quarter.
Thanks, Bruce. How you doing, everybody? Dan Reinhardt. I'm Chief Operating Officer for APM. Wanted to take just a couple minutes to discuss one of the initiatives we have going for 2020, and it's around accountability. I looked up the word this morning, and it said the act of being accountable. So what does that mean? What does accountability mean to me? What does it mean to our operational team? And for me, in a few short words, it is knowing, understanding, and owning your job description. It's knowing, understanding, and owning your role in the company. It's understanding and owning the expectations that the company put to you for your role. If you don't understand those, if you aren't clear on the expectations, ask. You know, I can't stress enough that we need to spend the year being open, honest, a lot of transparency, a lot of candor. I want to read, hear all the success stories, share them, bring them up to the forefront, bring them up to the spotlight. We can learn a lot. We can mimic what people are doing that is very successful, we all can learn from it. To me, more importantly, is share your failures. Don't hide them. There's tons of stuff that we can learn from a failure. We can bring that up as the lessons learned. We should make sure that our brothers and sisters out there know what's working right, and perhaps they know what also failed, so that we keep them from falling into the same trap. 2019, we put a lot of tools in place. We put a lot of process in place. As Jake refers to it, your APM tool bag is full. There's a lot of good tools in there. Use them, understand them. If you don't, ask questions. But more importantly, to me, accountability is own your part of the business and be candid and open with what's working right. And please let us know what's working not so right. So with that, Julie Doyle.
Good deal. Good afternoon. I'm Julie Doyle, Chief Service Officer here at APM. And I'm going to spend the next few minutes talking about the word compete or competitiveness and what that means to APM and how we really want to redefine that word. So when you hear the word compete or competitive, probably it brings to mind win. And it may also tie to hours and cost. You know, we do a job in less hours, we come in under cost, you know, we win, we bid low, we win. But I want to think of kind of push those walls back a little bit. And if you look at APM, we're really built on people. We're all about our craft in the field that do what they do very well. That is APM. So we have that group. And then we have our customers. And it's what we hope is that our customers look at us as partners. And then we have our shareholder. So if you look at those three groups, then is what you really think is, hey, they all want a different experience from APM. They're looking for that experience. Now there's a common thread in there on the experience that they want, but they all bring a little bit of unique needs or wants from APM. And as an example, if you look at the craft and you step out onto an APM job site, then is what you may be looking at is, hey, I want to make sure that our leadership has safety as a priority. I want to know that I can take ownership of my own safety. If I'm stepping out onto an APM job site, I may be looking at what opportunities do I have to advance with APM. I may be simply looking at what are the next 3 or 4 jobs I have with APM in this season? What does my jobs look like for next season? Take that and you look at the customer. The customer is certainly concerned about safety. It's important to them. They may also be looking at, hey, I want my equipment to start up the first time, and I actually want it on time. And then they may be walking through the site thinking, hey, I want to see some familiar craft faces out here. I want to see people that's been to my site. They know how I like to handle business. So that's an experience they may want. If you look at the shareholder, once again, safety is very important to them. And then they're looking for that financial delivery from APM. So if we push those walls back around cost and hours, and we look and we start expanding how we redefine the word competitiveness, then we look at our partnerships with the UBC, with our union members, and we start thinking about competitiveness just a little bit different in 2020. So is what I'm looking for is we don't have it all figured out today, but I'm looking for the journey in 2020 on redefining the word compete and what compete means to APM. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jake.
All right, so get your thinking caps on because we're going to open it up for Q&A here in a couple of minutes. Just let me recap what you've heard. So if you walk away from this with what's the 2020 focus, you got some idea of it. First and foremost, I shouldn't have to say it, safety. Continue this improvement of our safety performance, continue to build momentum there. As always, we have financial commitments we need to deliver, and Bruce and that team do an excellent job of preparing us to deliver that, and we just need to execute on that plan. Dan's focus on accountability for us very well laid out what accountability is. Julie, in this new journey around competing, Charles, one of the tools we have in CBS, and Dan mentioned as well, building our toolbox. We're always toying, tweaking with the toolbox, but the toolbox we have is the toolbox we're going to use. There's no major reinvention of the toolbox now. It's just using those tools we have very well. What I want to, before we go to Q&A, what I want to close out with is beyond 2020. Well, what are we thinking about beyond 2020? And I'll just leave you with this little taste. Julie mentioned experience, employee experience, customer experience, shareholder experience. We talk sometimes around happy or loyal employees deliver happy customers and deliver happy shareholders. Who is the face to our customer? Our superintendent and his crew. Everybody else in this organization is a support function to the superintendent and the crew. And I see a bunch of heads shaking yes, and we believe that, okay? Do we really believe that? And I want us to really think about that. And how are we as an organization improving the experience of our superintendent and our craft so they can deliver that experience for that customer, and then our shareholders happy with that experience, and we're winning. So we're looking at that connection between the superintendent and the customer and all the touch points that may be in between there. And I think APM may look different in 5 years from now, how we use the LDC, how we use airtime, how we use some of these other tools, what our functions are as a team here to coach and to lead those superintendents and that crew. But really it's about the superintendent and his crew being the stars on the job site. So that's a little bit of flavor of what we're looking at beyond 2020 and whatever markets, whatever we're playing in. I know our strategy is working. I've seen it in the data, in our performance in the improvement on things like safety and quality and being able to maintain our financial commitments. I want to close though with what I've heard. 3 weeks ago, I was in Atlanta with the GE STEAM organization. We've got the award somewhere. I'm not sure where it is right now. It's out there. Okay. We got an award. Homer City, 30,000 man hours, 100% safe. Exelon Dresden, innovative weld repair that saved our customer time and money. OPG Darlington, Ontario Power Generation Darlington. APM is crushing it, quotes. Per the leader of the GE STEAM organization, Ontario is his new favorite place to go because we're winning in Ontario. And why are we winning in Ontario? Because APM crews went up there. First time we've really worked in nuclear facilities in Canada. And again, we are crushing it. Customers feel that. Customers hear that. Today, a perfect 5 score for the gas business on Ocean State Power, which was a job that we led and we had a crew on. And then this, I can't express enough how proud I was to read this from a customer at Crescent Dunes Solar. So yeah, solar facility where we're working at. I've had the pleasure of working with our APM superintendent, Mr. Larry Johnson, and his team for the past 2 weeks. I can honestly say that Larry is one of the finest superintendents that I've ever had the pleasure to work with. His passion for safety and quality is infectious. He is not just saying what is expected of him by APM, he lives and breathes it. When he talks to his crew about his concern for their safety, not only do they believe it, but I do as well. It has been a true honor to work with him, and I look forward to the rest of the outage. I have no fears or qualms about the quality of his work or his diligence towards the safety of his employees. APM is better because of Larry. Thank you. Larry Johnson and that team deserve our thanks because they're the ones that keep us going. That right there tells me our strategy is working because I got a customer that's repeating what we have said for the past year. You could read that and you could see some of the posts that this leadership team has been posting, some of the things we've been saying. It's like he's got our script. And when our customers are reading our script, we're winning. So with that, Katie, let's give some Q&A on the, or let's give some instructions on the Q&A, and let's have a discussion.
Very good. Thank you, Jake. So one quick thing, I want to give a shout out before we jump into our Q&A portion of the event. We did start promoting about a week and a half ago that we would accept questions. Prior to today, we put a survey out, went out via email as well as on our social media channels. We had several employees go in and submit their questions in advance. And as promised, we did do a raffle of the names of individuals who submitted questions. So congratulations, Mr. Matthew Young. You are the winner of our raffle. We'll be reaching out to you over Facebook message to get your prize distributed to you. So thanks for submitting, and we hope you enjoy the APM swag coming your way. For all of those who would like to begin submitting questions now via the Slido platform, there is a link on the YouTube live channel. So down in the About section underneath the video, you can get the link right there. Additionally, it was distributed in the email and over our social media, so you can also find it on our Facebook page. You can scroll down, there's a couple of posts that most of them have question marks, and you can get the little link there. If you don't have any other way to access it, go to slido.com and it will ask you for a hashtag. Put in K615. That'll bring you into our event. You'll be able to ask questions via Slido. So take a moment, go to Slido. You can access it from any device, be it desktop, mobile phone, iPad. Please be advised, though, there is about a 30-minute or 30-second delay between our recording and live. So be patient. If you enter a question, it may take a moment before you hear it. And we do have quite a good amount of questions in there now. So we'll go ahead and jump in. I do want to just put the disclaimer. We may not be able to answer every question that gets entered. We'll do our best to make the most effective use of the time. If there are questions we're unable to get to, we will follow up on your questions in a separate format, so you can look for follow-up after the event. All right, with that, I'm going to begin reading them off. And the first question we have, I'm going to pass it, Jake, to yourself, and you can divvy it out amongst you and your team. When do we expect that we may be able to see better forecasting for future work?
Well, I'll start. That's a very good question. I think if I had the complete and total answer, I think a lot of General Electric people would be lined up out the door trying to figure out what it is. Being in the service business, what we're very good at is understanding what happened to us. Probably not so good at understanding what's going to happen to us. And historically, is best and is tight, and we've done a lot. Charles Nagley, our growth leader, really got tied in with General Electric, got really tied in with Field Corps, represented APM, really put a lot of effort into really solidifying the look aheads of what we knew, and I think we did actually a pretty good job of that. At the end of the day, off the top of my head, you know, our business being a service business is anywhere from 35 to 45% emergent work, right? It's like a barbershop. People just walk in off the curb. It's really hard to get that predictability when the new customer, look, you know, when I grew up in this business, everything was base load stations, right? Big 1,000-megawatt machines. Now you've got lots and lots of production from lots and lots of different fuel sources. Customers are able to slide outages much easier. Customers are able to look at their finances and defer things, cancel things because, you know, they have overmax on capacity, so they really don't need to produce the base load type power they used to. One of the things we're really trying to do for the folks in the field is utilize our resource program to where at least what we know, what we've got identified, what APM is locked in, we can start to share that with our field folks so we can start, you know, kind of looking at them, letting them plan their year out, let them have a glimpse of what their spring looks like, what their fall looks like. So to really answer the question, which I haven't, I understand that. I don't know what magic bullet we have to say we're going to have 100% predictability with forecasts. But I know it's a problem for GE, it's a problem for us, a problem for Field Corps, and I will say we are actively working on it, trying to better the models so that we can do a better job predicting.
Excellent. Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Next question. With the increase of wages in some roles, what effect are we anticipating for APM's bidding on jobs as well as our competitiveness?
Bruce, was that you?
Yeah, so I love the question. I love where this gentleman's or gentleman's head's at. That it shows that you're focused on cost. Cost is very important to the business, something that our shareholders very focused on, very interested in. So I love that we're thinking about that. As of right now, it shouldn't have any impact. I don't think we have any plans to increase price. The bet that we're making is that the standardization of some wages in some certain areas is going to lead to better, speaking from the compete standpoint, employee experience, customer experience. It's going to grow volume. The incremental volume will more than offset, hopefully, any increase in the wages.
And I would add to that point that I'd much rather pay you than pay for an injury or rework. So part of this bet is standardizing wages and getting better performance means we have less problems we're paying for, and that means you win, we win, customer wins, shareholder wins.
Thank you, Jake and Bruce. Our next question. Can we consider setting TAs up on a retained basis, which would enable us to go on potential sales routes and try to gain extra new businesses?
Charles, why don't you start with that one? That was Dan?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a teed up question, okay. Dan, why don't you start with that one?
Hi, everybody. I'm Dan. Look, we do as a company, we have some programs within our operations that are retained programs. And I don't want to discourage the thought around that. Myself, I'm selfish. I'm an operations guy. We go out there, work our butts off. We make a lot of money, and we hope Bruce, allocates some back to us at some point in the future. What I will tell you, and I know I can speak for Bruce on this, retainer programs, I see the advantage to them, but at the end of the day, they are a cost to the business. So being good stewards of the business, which Bruce is actually an excellent steward of the business, that cost has to be offset. We have to take that into account, and somehow we have to offset that. Whether it's a volume play, whether it's taking us into another business that we can write the business case, the business model, get the board to look at it and approve it. So what I would say is, as of today, I have nothing on my desk that is proposing a retainer program for any portion or part of our business outside of the ones we already have. What I would encourage you is, if you think there's a case, make that case. But understand one thing, it has to pass all the litmus tests, right? It's got to make sure it's functional for operations to do, it's good for our customer, and financially the company has to be able to absorb it, to accept it. I'd love to see everybody retained, but we got to deal with Bruce and run the company. So.
Thank you, Dan. The next question. In the past, there have been discussions about growth areas, for example, electrical. Are we still looking into these opportunities, and where do we stand?
Am I safe to pass this one to Charles?
Sure.
No? Okay.
Yes. We constantly, we've had opportunities to bid electrical work, specifically as late as last week. Whether it's in the U.S. or Canada, we look at those things. It's right now kind of on a one-off basis, but we're absolutely looking at those areas that are core competencies for our teams to look at those areas to grow.
Thank you, Charles. Our next question. With the UBC seemingly stretched thin to man work, what does APM plan to do in order to keep top talent in the business?
I'll start on that one, and then I'll let
Okay.
anybody else, Dan, chime in on
I
that.
will.
Look, I was with the UBC 2 months ago. There's 30,000 millwrights that they tout in the country. Now, some of those millwrights may be more conveyor or other markets than the power gen market. But still and that was a growth of 2,000 millwrights in 2 years. Now, that being said, like any of the population, people are retiring, people are exiting as well. And so a lot of that is an influx of new people coming in that are replacing people that are retiring. But that's why we started a resource program. That's why we built the resource program in the system. Is we have better visibility of the people that work for us, and where they're at and what they're doing and how we can keep them busy. So as it's mentioned already, we got a tool we've developed in Airtime, the resource program that helps us with that. We use the tool, we'll have better visibility to who's where and what they're doing and how we can put them to work. And then over time, we'll learn more and more about them, and we'll see what they really like and what they don't like necessarily. And that's when the loyalty factor starts to come into play. Dan, anything you want to add to that?
Just two real quick things. I just got back from some meetings with the UBC, and two things that I'm going to focus on. The first one is the Apprentice Program itself. What can APM do? I was happy to see that the UBC has many initiatives going on right now in active recruitment. Not only are they looking at ex-military people, which I completely applaud them for. Those are great people, and anything we can do to give people that served our country a job, I'm absolutely all for. But a lot of the locals, a lot of the district councils are actively looking and have great recruiting programs going on. What I want to do is sit down with the international group and say, what can APM do? How can we play in that arena? How can we help you? Can we get into sponsorships? Can we get first look at these people? What can we do, being APM, the largest provider of millwrights in the United States, to help with that? The second thing is they really want to get us tuned into the ITC, which is their international training center out in Las Vegas. There's a couple of us, when we walk through that building, we want to see APM hanging all over that place. We want banners, we want hard hats, we want stickers. We want those young apprentices, when they're going through there, to ask that question. I want our career path posted in the International Training Center so that a young millwright can look at that and go, wow, that company actually has a career, for you folks, a career path where I can really grow and really build a career. And maybe one day I can end up being a service manager. Maybe one day I can even end up being a general manager or a chief operating officer. So on top of what Jake said, those are two things that we're planning to hit here probably later in the spring.
Excellent. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Jake. Our next question. In recent months, it seems like airtime may have slowed down a little bit from a user experience perspective. What does the upcoming investment look like, and is there a way that we can mitigate any slowdown in the system?
So, good question. Think about that for a minute. We do know we have some pockets of connectivity issues that we are dealing with. Just recently sent Timothy and team out to one of the job sites to kind of take a look at that. We're looking at it from the back end of airtime. So as we hear about these pockets of kind of performance issues, then we are addressing those. And so for now, we're attacking them pretty aggressively, and we'll continue to do so in the future. So if you have an issue, if you keep making sure that you're contacting us, then we can kind of take a look and see what the issues are and really get some resolution a lot faster.
I don't think it's an airtime specific problem either. I think Viewpoint's slower as well. So I don't know if it's a server issue, Tim, or
Yeah.
what. But
So we'll keep looking at those, absolutely.
Thank you, Julie.
Mhm.
There seems to be a lot of changes in processes and procedures at a rapid pace. Is there any chance that we could expect a brief slowdown? This could really help us? Or should we expect that the pace of change will continue at its current rate?
No, I think we can expect that the pace of change is going to continue to intensify. Our innovation leader has a quote that I've always remembered that says, if you hate the pace of, or if you dislike the pace of change, you're going to hate extinction. And I'm sorry, I wish I could pause the world for us and get it to slow down. It's not going to. I mean, are there feedback for us on, hey, it feels fast, we're struggling to keep up? Those are things, yes, we definitely want to hear that because that helps us calibrate where we're at on some things. But look, this goes back to a conversation this team has had and hopefully some of you have heard about for 2 years. We're in a transition of moving from a collection of pirate ships to a navy. Well, we are a $400 million business. We employ 7,000 people and work over 4 million man hours a year. There has to be some standardization in this business. There has to be process. There has to be an APM way of doing things. And that pace is not going, in fact, to me, that's the antidote to change. And we're going to continue to change, but one way you deal with change is by having a standard way of, this is the way APM does it. And so I would encourage those out there, 2 things. One is, let us know. I welcome the feedback. If the pace is feeling fast, let us know because we can do some things to help with that. But 2, recognize that standardization and process is not a fight against change. It's actually a helping of us deal with the rapid pace of change that this world is just going through right now.
Thank you, Jake. What plans or opportunities may exist for us to grow and invest in our corporate part of the business as we continually see field opportunities and lines of business grow?
so that would be, I think, referring to our overhead variable and base cost structure, functional areas, and I would say that it's that type of cost is under the microscope. It always seems to be under the microscope, and we just need to make sure that as the business grows, we're keeping that balance, that ratio. I think right now we average 4 to 5% OVC base cost to our level of sales, and we just need to keep that number in check. So again, as our business grows, we need to make sure that our functional areas are growing as well and proportionally. I know that a lot of people, the business is structured to where, we're not staffed for the peaks, but we're also not staffed for the valleys. I think we do a lot in the lean, introduction of the lean is helping us. I know that a lot of our people are, when we are working in the peak, a lot of people are stretched. But if we can, some of the things our lean team is working on is looking at non-value added things, eliminating those and redeploying assets and resources into the more value add tasks. But again, we just need to watch those ratios, and as the business grows, we need to keep our OVC base cost in line with that growth.
Thank you, Bruce. What, if any, new safety focuses should we expect to see in the spring outage season?
Colin, you want to?
Sure, I'll start that. I would go back to something that Jake said earlier. We're focused on running the play that's been called. I would say we are looking at 2 to 3 learnings from observations that we're making based on the data. So I do think that there could be 2 to 3 things that we're going to focus on moving forward, but going back to something that Jake said probably a year ago, one of the things that I personally would stress is going back to the pinnacle job site. What does that job site look like, and making sure that our crafts are executing in a fashion where we do have pinnacle job sites, and that's our strive. So anything you want to add to that?
I don't, we're in the middle of spring outage season, so anything we do, say from a play design, let's say the way I call it play design, or new tools, it's hard to implement in the middle of outage season. And I have confidence from the way we've used the tools in the past year and a half that we've got good plays and good tools that we're using out in the field. So execute those better, continue to give us information. I would, the more observations and good catches and stops and hazard hunts you do, the better we learn. The better we learn from that. And then Colin and his leadership of the safety organization, and Julie from the data collection and analyzation side of it, they'll get together. And this summer we're going to look and say, okay, what did we learn? And in the summers where we have the opportunity to introduce new tools, new plays, new ways of looking at things. Right now it's run the play that's called, run it to the best of your ability, continue to be open and transparent with what's working and what's not working. We can tweak some things during outage seasons if something's really not working well, but that evolution of the playbook or that evolution of the tools really will come at the end of the outage season when we go back and we reflect on how we did and what the data is telling us and what we're experiencing, and then we move forward with that.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Colin. Are there any plans to make airtime accessible to other partners and contractors, or do we expect that this tool will remain inside of APM only?
Good question. So we're always looking at new plans for airtime. So while we have no commitments today or plans to put it out to other businesses, organizations, it's always on the table, and it's always kind of front of the discussion on what else we can do with airtime. So I would look to the future to see where we go with it.
Thank you, Julie. What are some of the lean projects our business is focused on, and what value are we expecting to get from them?
Good question. Functionally, non-operationally, right now, we've got probably 4, 5, 6 projects in the hopper. Craft incentives is one, so stay tuned. Craft labor employees, we're going to hopefully be rolling out in the next couple of weeks a new craft incentive plan to incentivize good performance on the job site. For our specialty services, blade and bucket tech lines of business, we've got an automated solution in the works for your Amex reporting that hopefully is going to streamline that. We've got reorgs going on in the tool center that we recently kind of restructured the tool center, and we're going to hopefully at some point very soon have a better tool of tracking inventory, tracking tool movement. That hopefully as well eliminates some third-party maintenance. It helps us in the recovery of some costs, identifying tool usage on jobs that we might be missing. And then we've got a project also in the rigging organization with the riggers and helping streamline some of their data entry, job setup, payroll, billing, all that kind of goes hand in hand. So those are 4 or 5 projects I know we got in the works right now, just to give you a flavor. And we're always looking for more projects. So Hopefully, a lot of you have gone through the lean training and have that tool in your toolbox to where if you identify a process that you think is, could be improved or streamlined or, has some waste in it, there's, Lizette will be proud of me, I think there's eight forms of waste that we can eliminate. If you got any of those, you can identify, hopefully you got that tool in your toolbox going through the lean training, and you can understand how to develop your project, and we can work to make those processes better through using the lean principles.
Excellent, thank you, Bruce. All right, we are just under 10 minutes, so I think we've got time for about 2 more questions, and then we'll follow up in a separate format with anything left. The first question is a bit of a clarification on one that we addressed, and it says here, my previous question seemed to be asked in the context of another entity or partner acquiring or sharing airtime. While that may be a possibility, do we expect that APM would retain ownership of the airtime tool?
Oh, absolutely. That's all on that.
The last one I have in here right now, and we'll see if there's time for one more. It appears that GE is currently reassessing its own business portfolio. What, if any, impact might that have on our APM business?
It's a loaded question. It's an important question.
Yeah.
It's a very important question. I'll say this. Yes, GE is looking at their businesses. It's a portfolio of businesses, and they're looking at multiple options. Everybody on this leadership team at some point in time has been brought to a table to discuss what those options would look like. And any number, I remember one time someone told me there was maybe over 100 different options on a wall somewhere where people were just looking at, what if we did this, what if we did that? I mean, the options are a lot. And we've been brought to the table at various times of, what do you think about this? What do you think? How would you react to this? What would be the effect of this? So there could, depending upon what decisions GE makes, there could be some impacts to APM. Just simple as, we've seen changes and relationships change. Now we got to develop new relationships. It could be that certain businesses get sold, and then we've got to develop a different type of relationship with those businesses. It could be other things as well. I can't predict the future, and I'm not going to here. I don't think anybody, even in GE, is going to predict the future at this point. What I will say is, general philosophy on this. If you have pride in the way APM works today, and you believe in the business model we have today, the best way to ensure we continue that is stay safe, do quality work, be professional, be excellent. We prove our value by excellence and by what we deliver to customers and to our shareholder. And the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if we're doing well and we're performing with excellence, that's the best way to ensure that we've got a bright future, and the APM that we know today is the APM that will be there tomorrow. So I will give you this commitment. As things come out, if other things happen or if things go, we'll be very transparent from the standpoint of what we're doing to engage and be at the table. And we are at tables influencing some of those decisions or influencing the way GE is thinking about it. We'll be transparent about that to the extent we can. What I ask for you in return is just keep your head down and your nose clean. Focus on execution. Focus on doing your job to the best of your ability. That's the best way to ensure that APM is seen as valuable, and the APM we know is the APM that will be around for a long time.
Excellent. Good answer, Jake. One last question that came in, and then we'll close out. Have we or would we consider putting technical advisors through the Technical Training Academy program in Italy?
Well, the answer is yes. But once again, and I'll just be accountable and be frank with this. What I asked for was a plan of how we were going to do that, what the cost would be, so that I could really confer with Bruce and understand what the return on investment is, offset by the initial investment of sending. I think it was 2 to 3 people over to Italy to do the Novi Pignoni oil and gas type training. So is that still open? The answer is yes, but once again, there's checks and balances that have to be done when you're running a business to make sure it's the right move for us. So
It's cost, we got to make the business case, and we got to figure out how to fit it into the budget.
yep.
Like every other answer. Huh? All right. Well, that is actually a perfect ending because that is all of the questions that we took in through the online chat. And it's just about at time. We are going to keep the Slido platform open for the rest of the day. So if anyone thinks of questions even after the video portion of the event is over, feel free to use that Slido platform to submit your questions. We will go back in there and collect anything that remains unanswered, and we will follow up in a separate format. A quick reminder, if anyone was unable to attend the entire video event, all of this is going to be posted on our YouTube and our Facebook platforms following the closure. And the last thing I would say, we've got 3 live polls that we're pushing live right now. So prior to dropping off of the Slido and off of the video event, we would love for you to go in and complete those polls. There's one that asks about your experience with APM as a company. There's one that asks about the themes that you heard during this event. And then there's one that asks about your overall experience. So again, please do participate. We would love to hear from you, and we'll definitely be taking that feedback and incorporating it. Jake, any final comments from you?
Thank you. We can't do this without you, whether that's you in the room or particularly you on YouTube, out in the field, working with our customers. That same job site Julie referred to, Tim and the IT team going out to help. We've had a few leaders go out there recently. It's a great opportunity to see a little bit different side of the business. It's a boiler job that's particularly challenging. That firsthand for me, I don't know if I've ever visited a job where everything that APM is sort of was captured together there. We got a superintendent that's leading a crew on a very challenging job. Airtime is playing a portion of how he does that job well. The development and the tools he's using, like CBS and the coaching tools he's using, I could see on hand first on display. He executed a stop moment when we were there because of some weather conditions, which was a challenging stop moment given the scenario out there. You had leaders going out there supporting him, coaching him, helping him out on that. At the end of the day, though, he and that crew are daily the ones that are in front of that customer delivering for us. And that is the North Star for this organization, superintendents and crews, and them going home every day safe and proud. And so on behalf of APM, on behalf of this leadership team, I want to thank you for the work you do in supporting those teams, and for those teams out there, what you do to deliver for our customers and more important, for your crews out there. So thank you for joining us. Had fun today. Please continue to send in those questions, and make sure at the end of the day you reflect on how well you did and staying safe and doing good work, and then apply what you learned to tomorrow. So thank you all. We'll end it now.